What if the very way you take a shower or brush your teeth or even clear your sinuses is actually actively aging your body?
Yeah, and slowly starving your brain of oxygen, which is a pretty wild thought.
Right. We constantly chase these really complex medical interventions, but we completely overlook, the basic daily maintenance of our own biology.
We really do.
So today, we are taking you on a deep dive into this profoundly eye-opening set of insights from Vardhan Ayurveda.
It's a really fascinating source.
It is. Their breakdown is titled 5 Hygiene Mistakes After 60. And I know that sounds like it's geared toward a very specific demographic, but let's set the record straight right off the bat.
Oh, absolutely.
The physiological mechanisms we are about to explore, they're an absolute cheat code for anyone at literally any age who wants to optimize their daily energy, safeguard their immune system, and, just extend their health span.
The real paradigm shift here is taking hygiene completely out of the realm of cosmetics.
Yes, because most of us think about hygiene purely in terms of, social acceptability, right?
Right. Exactly. Smelling decent, looking presentable, making sure there's nothing stuck in your teeth.
Guilty as charged.
Right. But the source material reframes these mundane actions as a frontline, non-negotiable defense against chronic systemic diseases.
Which is huge.
It is. We are looking at how microscopic daily accumulations basically compound over decades into conditions like diabetes, heart disease, and even cognitive decline.
Okay, so let's unpack this with a mental image. Let's say your body is a house. Society tells us to spend all our time, washing the front windows, painting the siding, vacuuming the living room rug so it looks pristine for guests.
The purely cosmetic stuff.
Right. But in this deep dive, we are skipping the living room entirely. We are going into the basement to check the foundation.
I love that analogy.
We are pulling out the HVAC filters, and we are scrubbing the hidden exhaust vents. Because aging healthily isn't just about winning the genetic lottery, it's about how meticulously you care for your body's vital gateways.
Framing them as gateways is really vital to understanding the biology here. And if we want to understand how the outside environment breaches our internal systems, we really have to start at the primary intake valve for our fuel, which is the mouth.
Specifically, the surface of the tongue.
Yes.
So the source material drops this staggering statistic regarding that surface. At any given moment, there are roughly 700 different species of microorganisms living on the human tongue.
It's a massive ecosystem.
Not just individual bacteria, 700 distinct species. And while, a balanced microbiome is important, a significant portion of that population is actively pathogenic.
And those pathogens are the starting line for a surprising number of systemic diseases.
Wow.
Because the physical structure of the tongue is not smooth. It's covered in papillae, which are these tiny bumps that create valleys and crevices.
Like a textured carpet.
Exactly like that. And when the tongue isn't properly maintained, it develops a biofilm. That's a sticky, thick matrix of dead cells, decaying food particles, and rapidly multiplying harmful bacteria.
Okay, I have to push back here, or at least, play devil's advocate for a second.
Go for it.
I am looking at my morning routine. I have a high-powered electric toothbrush. I floss. I use a mouthwash that practically burns my mouth. It's so strong.
It's the nuclear option.
Seriously. I feel like I am carpet bombing my mouth with cleanliness every single morning.
Right.
So how is this bacterial reservoir on the tongue surviving all of that? Isn't brushing enough?
It's a super common misconception, actually, but a toothbrush is engineered for the hard, smooth enamel of your teeth.
Oh, right.
Not the spongy, porous surface of your tongue. Bristles often just kind of move that sticky biofilm around rather than actually removing it.
That is gross.
And mouthwash, unless it's a clinical grade prescription, primarily just treats the outer layer of that biofilm. The deeper layers completely survive.
So they're just hiding down in the carpet fibers, basically.
Exactly. And here's the biological mechanism of why this matters so much. Almost everyone has some degree of gingivitis, or they occasionally get tiny microcuts in their mouth from eating something sharp.
Like a tortilla chip.
The classic culprit, yeah. If you leave a massive reservoir of pathogenic bacteria sitting on your tongue, those microbes migrate to those tiny wounds and enter your bloodstream directly.
So the tongue basically acts as an unlocked door to the circulatory system.
It does. And once those specific oral pathogens breach the bloodstream, they trigger an immune response that causes systemic inflammation.
Inflammation, the root of all evil.
Pretty much. The source explicitly highlights that this chronic low-grade inflammation actually damages the endothelial lining of your blood vessels.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Just from tongue bacteria?
Just from that. Over time, poor oral hygiene exacerbates insulin resistance in diabetics, it increases the frequency of respiratory infections, and it directly contributes to arterial plaque buildup.
Leading to heart disease.
Yes. You are essentially letting pathogens slowly poison your cardiovascular system right from your mouth.
That makes the actionable takeaway from the source feel incredibly urgent.
It really is.
They detail this ancient Ayurvedic practice called Jiva Nirlakanam, which translates to tongue scraping. But they're very, very specific about the tools.
The tool matters a lot.
Right, because you shouldn't just use the back of a plastic toothbrush or a cheap plastic scraper. They emphasize using a scraper made specifically of copper or stainless steel.
And the material science behind that recommendation is honestly brilliant.
How so?
Well, copper, and to a slightly lesser extent, stainless steel, possesses something called the oligodynamic effect.
Oligodynamic. Okay, what does that mean?
It means the metal naturally releases ions that penetrate the cell walls of bacteria and destroy their DNA.
Oh, wow. So it's not just a physical tool.
Right. So a copper scraper isn't just physically dragging the biofilm off the tongue. The metal itself is actively antimicrobial.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
And the technique requires some finesse, too. The instruction is to scrape from the inside out, gently, about 3 to 4 times, morning and night.
But the source includes a crucial caveat here.
Yeah, you must be significantly gentler in the evening.
Think about the mechanical wear and tear your tongue endures over, 12 to 16 hours of talking, chewing, swallowing hot and cold liquids.
It's doing a lot of work.
By the evening, those papillae are inflamed and sensitive. So aggressive scraping at night risks creating the exact microcuts we just established as entry points for bacteria.
Oh, man. So you're just making the problem worse if you scrape too hard.
Exactly. A gentle pass removes the day's accumulation without causing trauma.
The source also treats the tongue as a sort of dashboard indicator light.
A great way to look at it.
Yeah, like if you notice persistent red flags like deep white spots, severe discoloration, or pain that just doesn't resolve, you don't just keep scraping.
No, absolutely not.
That is your cue to consult a doctor, as it could indicate thrush, leukoplakia, or even deeper immune issues.
Paying attention to that dashboard is your first line of defense. But we actually have another vital intake valve sitting right above the mouth.
Right. If we've secured the fuel intake, we now need to address the oxygen intake.
The nose.
Yeah. We take roughly 20,000 breaths every single day. The nose is nature's built-in, high-efficiency particulate air filter.
It's a biological HEPA filter.
Exactly. It is responsible for catching dust, pollen, pollution, and airborne pathogens before they can embed themselves deep into the delicate tissues of our lungs.
And the physical architecture of the nasal cavity is perfectly designed to warm, humidify, and filter that air.
But the efficacy of any filter drops dramatically the moment it becomes saturated with debris.
It's basic mechanics.
Here's where it gets really interesting and where the mechanical analogy perfectly aligns with our biology. Think about the engine of a car.
Okay.
If the engine's air intake filter gets completely choked with dirt, leaves, and road grime, the engine can't pull enough oxygen into the combustion chamber.
So it struggles.
Right. The car gets sluggish, the fuel efficiency plummets, and eventually the engine might stall. Well, in this physiological scenario, the engine is your brain.
And the biological causality here is just fascinating. When nasal hygiene is neglected, all those trapped pollutants and allergens cause the nasal turbinates to become chronically inflamed.
Turbinates are the structures inside the nose, right?
Yeah, the bony structures covered in mucosal tissue, they become inflamed and swollen. And this physical swelling restricts the airway.
Makes sense.
Because you are pulling in a lower volume of air with each breath, there is literally less oxygen available for your blood to transport to your brain.
You are literally suffocating your own cognition.
You really are. The source draws a direct physiological line from this uncleaned biological filter to chronic fatigue, persistent brain fog, heavy morning headaches, and sleep apnea.
That is terrifying.
The brain consumes roughly 20% of the body's oxygen supply, despite being only 2% of its total weight.
Wow.
So running your most complex, energy-demanding organ on a chronic oxygen deficit creates this huge cascade of systemic issues.
And as we age past 60, our natural mucosal defenses actually dry out and thin, making the active maintenance of this filter even more critical.
So how do we effectively clean the human air filter without causing damage?
The baseline habit they suggest is incredibly simple. Taking warm water and gently washing the inside of the nostrils first thing in the morning.
Just to clear out the overnight accumulation.
Yeah, the dried mucus and trapped dust. They also highly recommend a simple saline spray, which they describe with this wonderful phrase. They call it a small bath for the nose.
I love that. Saline is highly effective because it mimics the body's natural extracellular fluid.
Okay, so it's not irritating.
Right. Using a saline spray or, a traditional neti pot physically flushes out the crusty buildup and allergens, which immediately reduces inflammation and opens the airway.
And Ayurveda actually takes this a step further with an ancient therapeutic practice known as nasya.
Yes, nasya is very powerful.
Which involves administering specific medicated oils or herbal preparations directly into the nasal passages. I found this fascinating because Ayurveda views the nose not just as a respiratory organ, but as the direct doorway to the brain.
And modern anatomy totally validates that perspective.
Really?
Yeah, the olfactory nerve, which handles our sense of smell, is the only cranial nerve that provides a direct, unshielded pathway from the outside environment straight into the brain's limbic system.
That is wild to think about, unshielded.
Completely. And nasya utilizes this pathway. By applying specialized oils, the practice is said to clear deep sinus congestion, alleviate chronic migraines, and balance the doshas.
The fundamental energies governing the body.
Exactly. But even a modernized, simpler version works wonders. Like applying a tiny dab of pure coconut oil or vitamin E oil inside the nostril.
Just to keep things moisturized.
Yes, it keeps mucosal lining hydrated and prevents that painful microscopic cracking that basically invites infection.
Okay, but before we move on, we have to highlight a massive behavioral error the source points out regarding congestion.
Oh, this is a big one.
When we have a cold, almost every single one of us pinches both nostrils and blows as hard as humanly possible to force the mucus out.
Do not do that. The physics of doing that are incredibly dangerous.
Dangerous.
Yes. When you pinch both nostrils and blow forcefully, you generate an enormous spike in internal pressure. It's similar to a violent Valsalva maneuver.
So the mucus has to go somewhere, and if the front door is blocked, it goes backward.
It takes the path of least resistance.
Thanks.
That intense pressure forces pathogen-laden mucus backward, driving it deep into the sterile sinus cavities, or even worse, pushing it up through the eustachian tubes directly into the middle ear.
Oh, wow.
So what started as a simple nasal blockage easily transforms into a severe, agonizing ear infection, or a deep sinus infection that requires heavy antibiotics.
Okay, note taken. The protocol is strict. Blow one nostril at a time, gently, leaving the other completely open to allow pressure to escape safely.
One nostril at a time.
Always. Okay, so we've spent all this time talking about the intake valves, right? The air and the food we bring into the system.
Right.
But the other side of the longevity equation is how efficiently the body clears out its internal exhaust.
The cleanup crew.
Yes. We are moving our focus to the body's hidden filtration plants, the armpits.
It is arguably the most misunderstood area of human anatomy.
Seriously.
Yeah.
We are conditioned by modern advertising to view the armpits exclusively as a source of social embarrassment.
Just a place that must be violently scrubbed, sterilized, and plugged up with chemical compounds to prevent any odor and wetness.
But the source absolutely shatters that purely cosmetic view. The armpits are actually a critical hub for the immune system.
A massive hub.
They house a highly concentrated network of over 20 lymph nodes. When I read that people generally just do a rapid 3-second scrub with a bar of soap, I realized we are completely neglecting a major biological processing center.
And we really need to understand how that center works. The mechanism of the lymphatic system is entirely different from our circulatory system. Well, the heart acts as a powerful pump to push blood through our veins. The lymphatic system has no pump.
Wait, no pump at all?
None. It relies entirely on the physical movement of our muscles to push lymph fluid, which is loaded with cellular waste, dead bacteria, and toxins, through the lymph nodes to be filtered and eventually expelled.
And the pores in our armpits are a primary exit route for a portion of this biological exhaust.
Exactly. Which makes our modern deodorant habits seem completely counterproductive.
Right. We slather antiperspirants containing aluminum compounds onto this area, and the explicit purpose of those compounds is to physically plug the sweat ducts.
We are literally barricading the exit doors.
That's horrifying when you put it like that.
The source highlights the compounding danger of this daily habit. Think about what's sitting there. You have a massive accumulation of sweat, millions of dead skin cells, naturally occurring bacteria, and the incredibly stubborn, waxy residue from daily antiperspirant use.
And if you're only doing a cursory 3-second wash in the shower.
Those pores become concretized. The localized toxins have a much harder time leaving the body.
Which perfectly explains the severe dermatological fallout they mention. The source notes that this profound neglect leads to severe, localized inflammation, chronic itching, and these angry red rashes.
But it goes way deeper than just the surface skin.
Right. When the exit routes are blocked, the lymph nodes themselves become overwhelmed, swollen, and prone to bacterial infection.
Leading to excruciatingly painful, pus-filled boils that often require surgical lancing and heavy antibiotics just to resolve.
Ouch. Avoiding that systemic backup requires a very intentional washing protocol.
It's not complicated, but it has to be intentional.
The heat of the shower is your first tool, right?
Yeah.
Use warm water to naturally open the pores and soften that waxy antiperspirant residue.
Yes. Then, using a soft cloth, and I mean soft, never a harsh, abrasive loofah that damages the delicate skin, you must clean the area using multi-directional friction.
Multi-directional, meaning up, down, side to side, and in circular motions.
Exactly. The varied angles are absolutely necessary to dislodge the buildup from the microscopic crevices of the hair follicles and pores.
And the soap selection is critical here, too. The source strongly advises against those heavily fragranced, brightly colored synthetic soaps.
Because those strip the skin's acid mantle completely?
Right. You need a mild, unscented soap that respects the biological pH. But here's the step I guarantee almost everyone skips.
The drying phase.
Yes. After rinsing thoroughly, you cannot just quickly wipe them with a towel and immediately apply deodorant.
That's a huge mistake.
You have to gently dab the area with a soft towel and then allow the armpits to air dry completely for at least a minute.
Fungal spores thrive in dark, warm, damp environments.
So applying deodorant to a damp armpit just seals that moisture right against the skin.
It creates a perfect incubator for a yeast or fungal infection. By keeping the area meticulously clean and bone dry before applying any product, you allow those 20-plus lymph nodes to function optimally.
Which the source suggests can actually reduce feelings of physical sluggishness and fatigue.
It's all connected.
It really is. Okay, let's transition from the periphery of our internal drainage network to the literal geographic center of the human body.
Ah, yes.
It's arguably the most universally ignored millimeter of human real estate, the belly button.
In anatomical terms, the umbilicus. In everyday terms, the forgotten core.
It really is the ultimate blind spot. Because of its structural shape, it acts as a deep physiological pocket. It is essentially the body's dryer lint trap.
That is a very accurate, if slightly gross, description.
It naturally collects every piece of microscopic debris we encounter. Daily sweat, shedding skin cells, lint from our clothing, and the sticky soap scum that washes down from our chest in the shower.
Just out of sight, out of mind until it becomes a serious biological hazard.
Especially as we age, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
As we cross the threshold into our 60s, the biology of the skin changes dramatically.
How so?
Well, cellular turnover slows down, hormone profiles shift, and many individuals are on various prescription medications that actually alter the chemical composition of their sweat.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that.
These factors combined make the belly button highly susceptible to aggressive bacterial colonization.
Resulting in foul odors, chronic redness, and persistent dermatological issues.
But the source introduces an incredible Ayurvedic intervention here called Nabi Puranam,
which translates to the filling or pooling of the navel. It involves applying and gently massaging specific medicated warm oils inside and around the belly button.
It's a very grounding practice.
But why the belly button, though? Is it just because it's the center of the body?
It's actually deeply rooted in early human development. Behind the navel sits an incredibly dense, complex network of blood vessels and nerve endings.
Okay.
It's often referred to in Ayurveda as the Pachodi gland, which connects directly to the enteric nervous system. That's our second brain located in the gut.
Wow.
Because the tissue inside the navel is exceptionally thin, the active compounds in the medicated oils are absorbed rapidly into the systemic circulation.
So Ayurveda utilizes this central access point to soothe the nervous system, stimulate sluggish digestion, and balance the entire body's energetic doshas.
Exactly. But even if you aren't committing to a full medicated oil massage, the daily hygiene protocol is non-negotiable.
Right. When showering, use that same mild soap and warm water to gently clean inside the cavity. Do not use your fingernails or scrub aggressively.
The skin there is incredibly fragile and prone to tearing.
And just like the armpits, complete drying is mandatory to halt fungal proliferation.
I do want to point out a severe medical warning: the source issues regarding this area for 2 specific groups.
This is crucial.
If you are diabetic or if you have a compromised immune system, the belly button must be monitored with hypervigilance.
Because a diabetic circulatory system struggles to deliver white blood cells to peripheral or isolated areas efficiently.
Precisely. Diabetics heal significantly slower.
Right.
A microscopic fungal bloom or a tiny bacterial infection inside the dark, moist cavity of the belly button can escalate with a terrifying speed,
Turning into a massive, deep tissue infection that requires hospitalization.
Yes. Furthermore, the source warns anyone who has ever had a navel piercing to be exceptionally careful.
Even if you removed the jewelry decades ago and believe the hole is completely closed.
Right, because that internal scar tract often remains. It acts as a microscopic tunnel, pulling in sweat and bacteria, making it a prime location for hidden, recurring cysts.
That structural reality makes total sense. Okay, to complete this architectural overhaul of the body, we have to drop all the way down to the base,
The foundation.
the structural foundation that carries the entire weight of this complicated biological system, the feet.
We demand absolute perfection from our feet for decades, yet our prevailing hygiene strategy is usually just assuming the soapy water running down our legs in the shower is doing the job.
Which the source calls out as a catastrophic error. And I have to geek out on the anatomy statistics they shared here because they are mind-blowing.
Let's hear them.
The human foot contains 26 individual bones, 33 complex joints, and a highly engineered network of over 100 muscles, tendons, and ligaments.
It is a biomechanical marvel.
Exactly. 25% of all the bones in the entire human body are located right there in your feet.
Which is incredible. However, because the feet are positioned at the extreme distal end of the body, farthest from the pumping force of the heart, they are highly vulnerable to systemic changes.
Especially as we age, right?
Yeah, as vascular elasticity decreases, blood circulation to the extremities naturally weakens. That makes the feet a high-risk zone for chronic issues.
So the source outlines a strict protocol for daily foot maintenance. Wash them actively with warm water, not scalding hot, which strips the skin's oils.
Right. Warm water.
Dry them completely, and then moisturize. But there is a very rigid rule that made me stop and question the logic.
The rule about the toes.
Yes, they insist you must never moisturize the space between your toes. So what does this all mean? Why moisturize the heel and the top of the foot, but actively avoid the toes?
I know, it seems contradictory.
Right. If a hydrating lotion is good for the skin, shouldn't be good everywhere.
It seems illogical until you analyze the unique microclimate between the toes.
Microclimate, okay.
The skin there is tightly compressed, creating a dark, enclosed environment with virtually zero airflow, especially when entombed in socks and leather shoes for 10 hours a day.
Oh, that sounds awful.
If you introduce a dense, heavy moisturizer into that space, the skin cannot absorb it rapidly and the air cannot evaporate it. The lotion simply sits there, creating a perpetual damp swamp.
Literally giving fungal spores the exact environment they need to multiply.
It is an open invitation for tinea pedis, commonly known as athlete's foot, and severe bacterial maceration, where the skin literally breaks down and rots from being too wet.
Okay, point taken. You absolutely want to heavily moisturize the tough skin on your heels and the soles of your feet.
Yes, because if your heels dry out and crack, those deep fissures act exactly like the microcuts on the tongue we discussed earlier.
They become open highways for bacteria to enter the bloodstream.
Exactly. But the space between the toes must remain aggressively, flawlessly dry.
This level of attention really transforms foot care from a luxury spa treatment into critical medical surveillance.
It really does. The source emphasizes that the feet operate as an incredible early warning system for your overall physiology.
They are the biological canary in the coal mine.
Because they are the hardest place for the body to pump blood to, systemic failures often manifest there first.
What should we be looking for?
Well, if your feet are chronically cold or noticeably swollen, it points directly to peripheral vascular disease or an underperforming heart.
Okay.
If the skin takes on a pale, shiny, or bruised discoloration, it is a primary diagnostic red flag for diabetes.
And what about nerve stuff?
If you experience a persistent burning sensation or a tingling numbness like you've been sitting on your foot too long, that is a glaring indicator of peripheral neuropathy or nerve degradation.
which reinforces the terrifying reality for diabetics. Ignoring daily foot inspections and rigorous hygiene can lead to undetected cuts, severe gangrenous ulcers, and ultimately amputation.
It all comes back to the house analogy you made earlier.
Right.
If the foundation rots and crumbles, the structural integrity of the entire building is compromised, no matter how clean the front windows are.
So let's synthesize the journey we've just taken. We started at the tongue, we navigated through the nasal passages, examined the lymphatic drainage of the armpits, explored the center core of the belly button, and grounded ourselves with the biomechanics of the feet.
We covered the whole map.
We did. And Dr. Vardhan, the expert behind the source material, emphasizes that none of this is theoretical. In his clinical practice, patients who adopted these specific, meticulous routines reported life-altering improvements.
Real clinical outcomes.
Yes, their nighttime breathing normalized, their sleep architecture deepened, chronic skin conditions vanished, and their daytime cognitive clarity and physical energy absolutely skyrocketed.
And the clinical credibility behind those claims is substantial. Ayurveda isn't some fleeting internet trend.
Not at all.
They possess over 26 years of deep clinical experience with 5 established hospital branches across Andhra Pradesh and Telangana.
Their medical philosophy is entirely anchored in natural, root-cause interventions. They don't just treat isolated symptoms.
They view the human body as an interconnected, holistic ecosystem where a failure at one gateway cascades through the entire network.
And while the video targets individuals crossing the 60-year milestone, the core message transcends age entirely.
It's universal.
Starting these microscopic habits in your 20s, 30s, or 40s is the ultimate biological investment. You are actively buying yourself a high-quality, high-octane life decades down the line. You are building an indestructible foundation.
You absolutely are. But as we close this deep dive, I want to leave you with a profound biological paradox to ponder.
Ooh, I love a good paradox.
Throughout all of these protocols, the ancient wisdom of Ayurveda insists on gentleness. Mild, unscented soaps, natural botanical oils, and soft cloths.
Specifically to preserve the body's natural balance.
Right. Yet we currently live in an era defined by a complete obsession with aggressive sterilization.
So true. We douse ourselves in harsh antibacterial gels. We scrub with abrasive synthetics.
We utilize chemical sprays designed to eradicate 99.9% of all bacteria. We view all microbes as the enemy.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
The paradox we must navigate is this. How do we balance the requirement for rigorous, deep cleaning hygiene to prevent disease with the modern scientific revelation that our skin, our immunity, and our very survival rely on the delicate, living ecosystem of our microbiome?
Wow.
In our modern war against dirt, are we actually scrubbing away the very microscopic allies designed to protect us?
That is the ultimate tightrope walk of human health. And how you choose to clean yourself tomorrow morning will determine which side you fall on.